It's the end of January and still no chapter 3. In this video, I will theorize about the release of the third chapter of Playtime based on what developers wrote, and if this theory doesn't work out as well as the previous one, then I'm sorry. Who knew that the developers would decide to postpone the game? And in the end, everything that you and I have discussed for so long about what might happen in the third chapter, there are just theories, and they're based on guesses, which we have supported by materials from the developers themselves. Well, if you came to my channel for the first time, then I ask you to like and subscribe to my channel, because for you it's just a couple seconds, but for me it's a huge motivation to continue making such a content, especially for you. And believe me, I will try to improve the quality of this content as much as possible so that you can enjoy watching it all. My longtime subscribers know about this because each time we've improved, and I'm more than sure that our walkthrough of Playtime Chapter 3, which will be released very soon, will be no less cool than your favorite YouTubers. Therefore, subscribe and we begin to build final theories. Stay tuned. In fact, the entire Playtime development team are quite humorous people because they often lead us on our behalf. It's all started when information began to circulate on the internet that a second trailer could be released on January 12th, where they would finally show us the release date of the chapter. However, this turned out to be nothing more than assumption, and the developers even decided to laugh at this, making a post saying that here's the trailer for you, although in fact they attached the same trailer that was released on December 11th. But come on, nobody promised you anything personally. These were just guesses based on their letter regarding the transfer. It would be a different story if they initially told us that it would come out and they presented it quite officially. However, this was not the case. Honestly, in addition to the fact that we are now discussing the release of the trailer for the third chapter and the chapter itself. In fact, I would like to discuss a little more about some other information that has become known. This information was already told by Shonix, and I thought for a long time whether I should talk about it. On the other hand, it may turn out that many wanted to hear this information from me personally, as well as my opinion, so I would like to go over with you through most interesting points. The third chapter will cost the same as the second, costing only $9.99, and I probably will agree with some people about this price, despite what you and I managed to see in the first gameplay trailer, the quality of which was not yet final. This is quite commendable. The developers are improving quality while they maintain the pricing policy that also applied to the previous chapter. And I even most likely know the reason for such an act on the part of the developers. The fact is that Playtime is a fairly popular game. She gained popularity quite quickly. This means that despite the fact that the product may not be very expensive, the number of people who will purchase it is much greater. And we came to a small conclusion that after the release of the chapter and its sales, they leave part of the income to improve the next chapter, hiring new employees, the number of which is currently increasing, and also spent on other consumables that help directly to improve the experience of future new parts of the game. I respect this approach and hope that it will also apply to our project when it comes out. Perhaps the most shocking information I've seen lately regarding the third chapter and the length of the gameplay. More than 3 hours. And mind you, it turns out to be quite symbolic. Third chapter, 3 hours of gameplay. 3.5, 3:15, something like that. Because I don't think by implying more than 3 hours, they have that much of a gap in between. Somewhere around 15 to 30 minutes of extra time by this hour can be left. And by the way, you notice the moment that they did not specify for us what kind of passage it was? When you know nothing, or the full one, when you know every twist of the scenario, how each puzzle is completed, and you can roughly imagine how it can be done as quickly as possible. Because I don't think there will be puzzles that greatly stupefy the player. By the way, all this information that they have recently begun to divulge to us comes from the words of the director of Mob Entertainment. But you agree that it's quite interesting that the director of the entire studio communicates with us directly. This man whets our interest by having another character who is completely new, not previously shown, who's not a smelling animal, we were also noted that this is a female character. I of course have a couple thoughts about who it could be, the previous facts known to us, but I don't want to scatter this information because many people would take it to the heart. They begin to think that this is really true and try to convince other people, and I don't need this at all, just like I think that you don't need this either. Although if you want to know my opinion, be sure to write it in comments. Before the chapter comes out, I will definitely make some more little theories about all this. And the director also claims that the best indie horror film ever will be released, implying that this is the third chapter of Poppy Playtime. Once again, it most likely proves to us that this game is gonna be very scary if they directly say that this is the best indie horror game of all time. And now we'll return to the topic that Mob Entertainment is currently mocking us. And this also includes the release date of the trailer itself. Many people began to worry about some reports related to the fact that the game will not be released in February and also will not be released in March. Everyone immediately panicked. Oh my god, how could this be? We were told in the letter that we need several weeks from January to see that second trailer, and of course the game itself. But no, they started telling us the game would not be released in February and would not be released in March. No, don't be upset, I'll tell you why. Notice the style in which these messages are written. The developers sent all sorts of barbs and hee ha-has, which hints that these messages are not so serious. The developers are playing on the fact that the game audience is mainly children and teenagers, and they may take words too personally. But you and I are smart people, so let's discuss this together in more details and try to guess the final version of the trailer, and the third chapter itself will be released, which we are not quite sure yet. This video was recorded on January 24th, that is the end of the month. We have literally a week left before February arrives, by which time the developers initially wrote that the chapter would not be released, and it really won't work out because we have a whole week with you. I offer these options. You and I are not going through a full working week during which the developers will release the trailer. That is before the release of the chapter itself, which is quite logical because during this time they usually release trailers that marks the release of the chapter itself, indicating the release date. However, if nothing happens during this week, which is quite strange, and it turns out this way, let's say the developers release the final trailer somewhere around 29th, 30th or 31st, and the chapter itself comes out in the first week of February, or the same thing, but now, for example, which the last week, let's say the trailer itself comes out on the 24th, and exactly a week later, that is on the 30th or maybe even 31st, the chapter itself will be released. I believe that this is the best time because the developers will certainly have time left before the game itself is completely polished. And the developers told us that the final trailer will be a little different from the first gameplay. New cool graphic changes, and perhaps not only. I really hope that one of the changes is related to optimization because mobs have always done poorly. I hope they finally hired someone who knows how to optimize project in Unreal Engine. In general, something like this. I sincerely hope that you will watch my walkthrough of Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. You and I will find every secret. Maybe we'll even combine the stream with a walkthrough to make it more interesting. I hope that in addition of stream, you will watch the walkthrough on my videos as well. I have been with you for a very long time, since the announcement of the first teaser, which was on August 8, 2022. I have been with you all this time, and I hope you will stay with me until the end. Subscribe to my channel if you are here for the first time. This is Dashlin, and we'll see you pretty soon, because the final trailer for the third chapter is coming soon. I will definitely break it down with you. Have a blast and be amazed, because the trailer will run longer than the first one, perhaps about 3 minutes, and it will be very cool, very rich, very interesting. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.